I saw her bury the body. That's the part one can't forget. The way she looked down at her little sister, dirt smeared on her hands, her eyes cold and hollow. I never thought she could do something like that. Her name was Nyora. She was always the quiet one, the responsible one, the one everyone trusted. Until that night. Nyora and her younger sister, Malaika, were different in every way. Malaika was full of life, always laughing, always the center of attention. She could make anyone smile just by being there. Nyora, on the other hand, was the opposite. She was older by 3 years and carried a seriousness about her that made people keep their distance. The village always talked about how lucky Nyora was to have such a vibrant sister like Malaika. But over time, I think that wore on her. We all grew up in the same village. The kind where everyone knew everyone. I was close enough to their family to see how things were. Malaika was the golden child, the one everyone adored. Nyora was often in her shadow, and I think that's what broke her. It happened one evening by the river. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of red and gold. We were all there, me, Nyora, Malaika, and a few others, gathering water before the rain came. The air was thick and heavy, with the smell of wet earth lingering around us. It started small, like most things do. Malaika had been teasing Nyora, laughing, poking fun at something trivial. Something about a dress they shared. It was nothing unusual. Malaika was always playful, and Nyora usually brushed it off. But that day was different. Maybe it had been building up for too long, the jealousy, the frustration. I could see it in Nyora's eyes, something dark and simmering just below the surface. At first, Nyora just told her to stop. Her voice was low, steady, but with an edge. Malaika, of course, laughed it off, not knowing when to quit. Then it happened in a flash. Nyora shoved her hard. It wasn't playful or a joke. It was pure rage. Malaika stumbled, her foot catching on a rock. She lost her balance and fell into the water. I saw her head hit something, a stone or a log, I don't know. All I remember is the sound. A dull, sickening thud. She didn't scream. She didn't make a sound. She just slipped beneath the water. For a moment, everything was still. My heart was pounding, but my body wouldn't move. I waited for Malaika to surface, for her to start laughing again, to say it was all just a joke. But she didn't. Seconds turned into minutes, and she was still under. That's when the panic started to creep in. I looked at Nyora. She wasn't moving either. She just stood there, staring at the spot where her sister had fallen. Her face was blank, as if she couldn't process what had just happened. But then something changed. Slowly, she waded into the water, her eyes never leaving the surface. She reached down and pulled Malaika's limp body onto the riverbank. Her sister's face was pale, her eyes half open, but there was no life in them. She wasn't breathing. I thought Nyora would scream, would cry, would break down. But she didn't. She just sat there, looking at her sister's lifeless body. I'll never forget that look. It was as if a part of her heart shut off, gone cold. Then, she did something that chilled me to my core. She started to cover Malaika's body with leaves and branches, as if hiding it would make it all go away. I wanted to say something, to scream, to run for help, but I was frozen. My legs felt like they were glued to the ground, my throat too tight to make a sound. After a few minutes, Nyora stopped. She turned to me, her eyes locking onto mine. There was no fear in them, no guilt. Just, come. Help me, she said. Her voice was low, almost a whisper, but it carried in the stillness of the evening. I took a step back, my heart pounding in my chest. I didn't want to be part of this. I didn't want to know what she was planning to do next. But she didn't need my help. She had already decided. Nyora dragged Malaika's body deeper into the forest, away from the river, away from where anyone might find her. I followed at a distance, too terrified to do anything else. My hands were shaking, my mind racing with what I had just witnessed. Nyora found a spot, hidden beneath the thick trees. She knelt down and started digging. With her bare hands, she tore at the dirt, her nails scraping against the earth. She was fast, methodical, like she had done this before. I watched, my legs trembling, as she dug a shallow grave. It didn't take long. She lowered Malaika's body into the hole, her hands moving with a kind of eerie precision. When it was done, she covered the grave with dirt and leaves, smoothing it over like nothing had ever happened. Finally, she stood up, wiping her hands on her dress. She looked at me again, her face expressionless. "You didn't see anything," she said. Her voice was calm, steady, like this was just another chore. Like she hadn't just buried her own sister. I wanted to run, to scream, to tell someone what I had just seen. But I couldn't. My legs felt like stone, my throat tight. I just stood there, staring at her. And then she walked away, back towards the village, as if nothing had happened. The next day, the village searched for Malaika. Nyora played her part well, crying with the rest of them, pretending to be worried about her missing sister. No one suspected a thing. But I knew. I knew what she had done. And she knew I knew. For years, I kept a secret. I didn't dare tell anyone. Every time I saw Nyora, she would give me that same cold, empty look. And I'd remember her hands, covered in dirt, burying her sister's body. Now, every time I pass the river, I hear that sound again. That thud. And I see her face, staring down at her sister, as if she was nothing. Just another shadow to be rid of. The worst part is, I still don't know why she did it. Maybe it was jealousy. Maybe it was years of being overlooked, of being second to Malaika's light. But whatever it was, it's buried deep, just like Malaika. And it haunts me every single day.